In a previous video, I gave an overview of what backlog refinement is. And now in this video, I'd like you to join my team for a backlog refinement. So here's who's on the team. First of all, there's me. I'm the product owner, and I also serve the role as Scrum Master because it is a bit of a smaller team. Our tech lead is Pamela Rocky, also goes by Pam. And then we have a senior developer, Kaz Dolowitz, and developer 2, Marino Dolowitz. As you might guess, they're brothers, they're twins. So let's jump right in and refine some tickets. Let's refine load screen with specimen details. So this screen will effectively show results after the user has searched for a specimen. Let me go ahead and read through the ticket and I'll take your questions. As a user, I want a specimen detail screen so that I can read about the plant specimen I've selected. Create a screen with UI elements that represent each of the attributes of a specimen, including common name, genus, species, cultivar, height, water requirements, sun tolerance, and load the screen with the details from the specimen that the user selected. Developer notes this is going to require Jetpack Compose, a new UI framework. It will require an accessibility audit, and then a few notes here on what QE should test. So, Pam, I see you have a question. What's your question?
Does this require analytics?
Oh, analytics. I totally didn't even think about analytics. You're right. You're right. Kaz, stop interrupting Pam. Analytics. Good thought. I didn't think about analytics. Yeah, we'll need to add analytics to this ticket. All right. Let's go ahead and vote. And Pam, why'd you go with an 8?
I went with an 8 because there are a lot of unknowns that we'll need to spike on, and it's a complex UI, so it's going to take a lot of testing.
Good thought. Kaz, how about you? Probably an 8, although we could break it down a bit more. Okay, another 8. And Marino, how about you? My hunch is an 8, which makes me think maybe we need to break this one down a bit more. Okay, next story then. Create readme.md for our GitHub repository. As a developer, I want reliable technical documentation on GitHub so that I can write software and commit it to this repository. The readme.md should contain an overview of the repository, definition of done, definition of ready, UML diagrams that will describe the software naturally, so use case, class, and sequence diagram, list of code reviewers. No analytics are required for this, and no QE is required. I will say that we probably will need skills in Markdown, so let me go ahead and add that to the ticket. So fairly straightforward ticket, and I don't see any questions in the chat. Any questions? All right, let's point. I'm thinking a 2. It is fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I went with a 2 because we can reapply a similar technique that we used on a previous ticket. I think Shri worked on that.
It's fairly straightforward. I'd go with 2. I'm good with the 2. Okay, next ticket. MPD8 search for specimens. As a user, I want to be able to search for plant specimens so that I can find details on the plants I wish to purchase. What's required here? Create a search bar on the top navigation. The search bar should only accept valid characters. Plant data will be searchable via an API hosted in the cloud. Plant data will be stored in a persistence layer in the cloud. Plant data will be cached once cached on the device once retrieved. We'll need to create all of the necessary classes for this. A plant class like a noun class, a networking layer, business logic layer. Acceptance criteria here. The app has a search bar on the top of every screen. Searching for Eastern Redbud will return Cercis canadensis Eastern Redbud. A limit of 20 search results on the screen. Analytics are required. Accessibility required. Cybersecurity audit required. QE notes. We'll need to test with Eastern Redbud. As stated above, test with some garbage data to make sure that we don't get results for that. And search results should be under 3 seconds. Pam, question.
Do we have designs for that yet?
Right. Good point. No, I will add a storyboard to this. Any other questions? Then let's vote. I'll go for a 3. I think that it is going to be pretty straightforward, but maybe a little bit more complicated when we consider the documentation that we're going to need for the end users. Yeah, good point. And now, Pam, though, I noticed you went for a 5. Why'd you choose a 5? Maybe we can work out whether it's a 3 or a 5.
I went with a 5 because we have dependencies on Arthur's team for parsing the data and Steven's team for writing automated test cases.
Okay, Kaz, Marino, how do you feel about a 5? I'm good with a 5. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's good. Okay, last story then. In a previous refinement, we talked about Jetpack Compose and how we want to use it, and we also realized we don't know what Jetpack Compose is, and we do not have any experience on the team with Jetpack Compose. So this is a spike. This is a research spike. We want to get some experience with Jetpack Compose UI framework and Android. The developer for this ticket should take some tutorials on Jetpack Compose, should work with our architect to determine how Jetpack Compose will fit with our system design, should create a Confluence page with learnings, and then host a lunch and learn for the team. So, any questions on this? All right, no questions? Let's go ahead and discuss a bit of voting then. Given the research that's involved in this one, I think it should be a 5.
Okay. This issue is too complex for a single ticket. We're going to need to break it down into multiple tickets.
Yeah, good point, Pam. But this is not a spike do. A spike do is where we would actually do the work. This is just a spike. So why don't I add a criteria here that says another outcome is create tickets to do the work. That way we know that we're not actually doing the work in this ticket, but as you point out, yeah, the complexity will actually be other tickets that we'll create, and that's one of the deliverables of this ticket. Given that, are we all good with the 5 then? We normally point spikes at a 5 anyway, so feels kind of right.
I'm good with a 5.
I'm good with the 5. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's good. Okay, great. So that's the last ticket we have to refine. I will update the story points, and then we will take a look at these at sprint planning, which will be our next meeting where we take a look at our velocity and we determine our budget for work, and then we look at the stories that we pointed. We look at the priority of those stories and we bring them in. Thank you.